Thank you so much for clicking on this video. I really appreciate it. And when you're here, look what I got. The A7 IV. We all been waiting for it, and it's here. So in this review, I'm doing a quick overview of what's new in the camera. So I'm sharing my thoughts after using the camera for a couple of days and how I think it performs compared to the camera I use today, the A7 III. And as you know, the A7 III has been a top-selling camera for over 3 years now. And I have the camera, and I know many people that do, and they love the A7 III. I think it's because it's the perfect hybrid camera. It can do like photography and videography well. So creating a successor to one of the most beloved cameras of all time could not be easy. It's like creating the ending episode of Game of Thrones, and we all know how that went. So grab a snack and I'll get to the point. So the first thing I noticed when I unboxed this beauty was how much beefier the grip is. And I can finally fit my fingers between the inside of the grip and between the lens here. Usually I have to hold it like this. It's kind of awkward. So that's a very welcome update in my opinion. So now when you mount this to a larger lens, like the 200 to 600, it doesn't look as awkward. So I'm really happy for that update. And I feel like Sony has really listened and taken stuff that we like from the A7S III and the A1 and put it inside of the body of the A7 IV. So Sony has come up with a new design of the mode dial and went from this classic simple design to a more like dual dial thingy. I don't know the specific name for it, but I really like that. They have separated the camera modes and the settings dial, and you got 3 different memory recalls, just like the A7S III and A1. So a nice little detail about this modes dial, it has this locking feature, so you don't accidentally change modes while like carrying the camera. I would like to see a locking feature on the settings dial as well, like the A1 has. But at least we get that feature on the exposure compensation dial. So it's something. I like the click of it. I recently bought the A7C for doing this kind of filming. And one thing I've fallen in love with already is that they put the record button on top of the camera instead of in the back. And now we got that on the A7 IV as well. So if we look at the back of the camera, we can see that there are some small changes in the position of the buttons. And all of the buttons have been updated and are much more satisfying to press. And they're like, it's like more, what do you call it? They're more clicky. I like that. So I personally use back button focusing. I'm using the AF on button here to lock focus. And having a larger button to press means that I can press it easier with gloves on in cold winter days, for example. Thumbs up. And same goes for the larger and newly improved joystick. 2 thumbs up. So this camera has 2 separate SD card slots that are both USH 2 compatible. UHS, that is not an easy word to say. And card slot number 1 also support the super duper fast CFExpress cards. And it's the type A card we see and not the type B. And that is actually one of the big selling points for me. I'm gonna talk about that later in the video. So the LCD panel has finally gotten an update, so it's a bit more resolution on and better colors as well. And the same goes for the EVF with a little bigger update. Now it has a higher resolution, I think it's 3.69 million dots or something, and also the ability to have higher refresh rate. So one of the biggest issues with the A7 III in my opinion is this. I don't think nobody appreciates this. But that is no longer a problem. Finally, don't have to lay down in the mud to get the shot we want, because now we have the flippy tilty screen. Something also worth mentioning is that we now can use the touch function in the menu system, which is cool, I guess, 20 years ago. And we also have the new menu structure, which I love. I remember when I bought my first A7 II, I was so confused by the menu structure. And to be honest, still today, in a stress-like situation, I can't find the right setting. And as a frequent A7 III user, I had no problem finding all the settings I want inside this. So on the side, we now have a HDMI Type A port, which is very welcome. And we have a micro USB, a USB-C, a headphone jack, and a microphone jack. If you're one of those that does not like cables, the Hot Shoe now has a digital audio interface which supports Sony's digital boom mics, which are really, really good. So the new 33 megapixel sensor is a highly welcome update, because I personally crop a lot of my images, especially on smaller birds and animals I can't get really close to. So having those extra megapixels are super handy. So I think 33 megapixels is like the perfect amount of pixels. It's not too much, like, so the file sizes are like tremendously big, and it's not too few to like crop in and still be able to print the images. Pixels aren't everything, as you know, but in my type of photography, it really helps. So we now have the new BIONZ XR processor. I don't know if I pronounced that right. That's the same processor as the more expensive A1 and A7S III has. And thanks to that, Sony claims that we will see better low light performance, even though the 33 megapixel sensor. So a higher megapixel count usually means worse low light capabilities. So after my own little quick stress test I made, we see that on higher ISO levels, we actually have better contrast and details. I made a quick test of this. I know some YouTubers that are going in depth with this. I can link some of my favorite reviews of the camera down below for you to check out. So let's talk about the autofocus, the Bird Eye AF. And I haven't tried it before, but wow, what a feature. So I tried it on some house sparrows outside my building, and the focus just locks on the eye, as you can see here, and it's super sharp. This is a game changer for me. I know it's been around on some Canon cameras and also on the more expensive A1 series. We finally have that in the A7 IV, and wow, I'm so impressed by this. And the human, animal, and bird IF works on video as well. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the A7 IV, at the time being, is the only camera that can do this in video of the Sony cameras. So on top of that, we get a new feature called Focus Breathing Compensation. It will help videographers getting rid of that little weird shift when adjusting focus, but it's only available on some native Sony lenses. So the new focus mapping is something I personally don't have use for, really, but I can imagine some videographers doing professional client work and stuff have a need for it. So it helps you determine what's in focus and what's in behind your subject and what's in the foreground. And it does this with colors. So blue is in the background and red is in the foreground. So video-wise, they have taken a lot of great features from the more expensive A7S III, which is a video dedicated camera. So the A7 IV can deliver 4K 30p footage oversampled from 7K with full pixel readout. So we have a full frame 4K footage with no crop at all. So the 4K 60p, however, is cropped with a Super 35 format, recording in 10-bit 4K 60p with a color sampling of 422. Looks so good. So I'm gonna be honest with you, I've been recording in 1080p since I started this channel due to space and performance issues, but that is now history, believe me. I've been looking through some of the 4K 60p footage here, and whew, it's like a kid trying out candy for the first time. We can now shoot in S-Cinetone, which is a picture profile taken from Sony's more advanced cinema cameras, and I love the S-Cinetone. So the B-roll you saw in the beginning of this video is all shot in S-Cinetone picture profile, and I really like the look of this picture profile. I'm not really into color grading my stuff because I don't have the knowledge for it or the computer. And having a picture profile that looks great straight out of the camera is something I've been wanting to have for a very long time. So I'm really glad to see the S-Cinetone inside the A7 IV. We now have a 5.5 stop stabilization inside of the body, but we also have the new active mode. And this mode is also from their more expensive cameras, and I think it looks really good. And as you can see, it really works. I tried this walking with an 85mm just to see how good the active stabilization was, and I think it did a really good job. And as I mentioned earlier, we now have the CFExpress cards in the camera, which are super fast. And this is one of the reasons I'm getting the A7 IV in the near future. You can basically shoot 10 FPS raw photos uninterrupted until the card capacity is full. So when I'm photographing an animal, for example, I don't have time to wait for the buffer to clear to start recording a video. And I've missed a lot of cool video clips because of this. Sony has updated the connection between the Imaging Edge app and the camera, and yes, the app was really in need of an update. You should now only have to connect the camera to the app once, and then it should automatically connect next time you want to transfer something. It now supports raw photos being transferred to your phone, which is a big plus for me when traveling and stuff. There's been a whole lot of updates to the app, but that is for another video. So to sum things up, is the A7 IV the perfect successor to the A7 III? Yeah, I think it will fill the shoes of the A7 III pretty well. Because what's made the A7 III the popular camera that it is because it's the perfect hybrid camera. It can do photography really well, and it can do videography really well. And you don't have to compromise too much on either side. And I think it does just that. I would like to see a higher burst when you're taking photos, like maybe 20 FPS or something, like the Canon R6. But as this has a 33 megapixel sensor, the R6 has a 20 megapixel sensor, I kinda get why it doesn't work. But I would have seen an update there. To be honest, 10 FPS is often more than enough for the most of us. It's just in some situations I would like to have more. And on the video side, we can record 4K with a color sampling of 422, 10-bit, full frame. We also have this 60p option. I think most of us, that's perfectly enough. And if you need more, you have the A7S III. If you found this video interesting, please hit the like button and check out my other stuff on the channel as well. Tell me your thoughts about the A7 IV, and are you getting the A7 IV? I want to know. Tell me in the comments below, and if you have any user questions that I might be able to answer, comment down below and I'll do my best to try and answer them. I want to wish you a really great day, evening, night, whatever it is we're at your place. And now I have some real 4K footage to edit, and it's probably gonna be a nightmare, but it's gonna be worth it. Bye!